Russian, Canadian.
Oh, sorry. You caught me looking on the internet at some old vintage toys. What was I looking at? Toy airplanes. A Mattel toy line called Flying Aces. What? You don't remember it? Oh, some of you do. You had it as a kid and forgot all about it? Well, let's talk about Mattel's Flying Aces toy line. Guys, I know on this channel we talk a lot about toys and mostly about action figures, but today we're going to move away from action figures and we're going to talk about toy planes that you could launch. You could even launch them inside the house. I know your mom's like, don't play with that in the house. Well, your mom wasn't there 24 hours a day. You were launching airplanes all around the house, in your bedroom, in the living room, down the stairwell, in the basement, in the kitchen. Hell, you probably launched some of these in the bathroom. I'm not judging. Back then we didn't have a smartphone to look at when we were taking a poop. But these were released in 1976, and I admit they were kind of cool. They launched with a rubber band. You had different kind of launchers. One of them was really cool. You're going to check it. It's an aircraft carrier. We'll look at that in a minute. But these were, well, I was going to say they're really cool, but I'm going to be honest, they broke real easy. Yeah, today you can find a lot of adults. If you find a website, he's talking about these in the comment section, the kids then are now grown up. They're going to tell you how it broke really easy. But you could buy extra airplanes if you wanted to. They were made out of, wasn't plastic. They were made out of something called Two-Flight. I don't know. There it is right there. And there was some kind of polystyrene. Big words, man. Some kind of polystyrene. I thought it was polyester. I was like, well, these planes are made out of polyester, but no, they're made out of like of foam. I'll put it right there because I know I pronounced it wrong, and you'll let me know in the comments. And we'll all have a good laugh. Make fun of me, that's okay. I'll make fun of you. But anyway, these were released in 1976, and although they did kind of break easy, they were kind of fun. Didn't need any batteries for any of these. They all just used springs and rubber bands, and you could buy more ships if you needed to. Ships. I said ships. I guess airplanes is the word I was looking for. And now before you say, wait, are you talking about that Kenner Star Wars Target Aces game? No, I'm not talking about that. That'd be kind of cool to talk about. But no, we're talking about something made by Mattel. First, let's look at the airplane. Now, you could buy the airplane separately, but it was kind of hard for me to find photos of them individual. I found one. Let's take a look. Here's one by itself. The Sky Shooters. Now this, you didn't need any kind of fancy launcher, although it came with a little plastic launcher that helped, but I guess that's not fancy. You just hold the little plastic part and pull it back with your hand, and the rubber band does the rest. But as you can see here, they did release a lot of different ones. Most of these came with one of the Playsets. Most of these did come with the launcher, but again, if it broke, there you go, you could buy more. So let's have a look at the airplane itself. But we want to get into the launchers because that's the fun thing of this line. So let's take a look at the launchers.
Flying Aces, U.S., Russian, Canadian, Chinese. You put them on the Flying Aces flight deck to launch them into action. You can fly a jet solo, or launch a squadron together, and chase them into the sky. The Flying Aces flight deck with the planes that fly as good as they look. Flying Aces flight deck comes with 2 Flying Aces jets and flight deck from Mattel.
Here's the flying deck, and it came with 2 airplanes. Or I guess I should say 2 Flying Aces jets. As you can see here, the launch pad is just a long piece of plastic with a gun-like trigger on the bottom. Just hit the trigger and fire both of these jets at the same time. Said 2 at one time. 2. Not all the launchers could shoot 2 at one time. So you there with your single launcher, and then Billy shows up with his double shooter. Man, you just might as well move. Just change schools. Just leave the whole state. Now let's look at another launcher. This is the Blue Angels. As you can see, it's almost like the other one looked at, but it would shoot off 3 airplanes. 3 airplanes. Now I almost forgot to add this. This thing must be rare because after making the video, I found out about this one, and many websites didn't even list this, so it must be rare. Now, let's go on and look at another one. Here's the Squadron Command. As you can see, it's got the launcher on the end right there, but it's got kind of a base that has a handle. It looks like you're inside of the aircraft. And you can fire these off back to back. Launch one and then launch the other. That's pretty cool. Hey, it's better than that light bright. Oh, well, let's look at the playset of the line. The Advanced Island Base. It comes with a little play mat that you lay down on the floor and you put the aircrafts on it. It also has a watchtower, some kind of little Jeep thing. I saw a flag and more. And yes, before you ask, who would launch these? So it's really cool to have a home base for your flying aces. Now you know that looks pretty cool. But you're here to see the granddaddy of them all, the big one, the one, if you had this line, if you were in this line, this is the one you wanted the most. The aircraft carrier. The attack carrier. I mean, this thing is cool and huge. This one here was 3 feet long. And if you count inside the package, it weighs 17 pounds. 17 pounds. Wow, my grandma had a Gorder that weighed 17 pounds. Of course, this thing came with a launcher that could launch off the plane. But you also set up the other plane to taxi and be ready to take off next. And like I said earlier, being that it was powered by a rubber band, you didn't need no stinking batteries. Now, before you get too excited, this thing was $13 at retail. We're not talking G.I. Joe carrier here, but yeah, it was still pretty damn cool. You don't believe me? You don't believe that this thing was fun? Well, check out this kid here. Look at that face. You can't fake that. That kid's having fun. Hey, it was cooler than your sister's Easy Bake Oven. Who wants to eat a brownie cooked with a 3-watt light bulb? Not me. Now you're thinking, this looks kind of familiar, but I remember it as Battlestar Galactica. Well, they did kind of release something like it. Same concept. They released the Viper launch station. As you can see, it's basically the same thing, just made part of the Battlestar Galactica line. Now, of course, they did break easy, and to be honest, it looks like it would get kind of boring pretty fast. I mean, it looks like might be fun for a couple of weeks, and then your friends come over and y'all might play with it, but then I think after you launch it a couple of times, I think the fun will wear off. I mean, we're not talking about a toy line here where you start buying accessories for it. It just gets better and better as you go along. So, I guess it was kind of fun for the time. And today, collectors love this thing. It's still a collector's item. You're not going to get it too cheap on like eBay. I mean, that aircraft carrier, that one goes for about $200. That's with box, but I couldn't find one to get a price in the sealed box. But you're looking at about $200 for that. Probably about $50, $60 for the other launchers, and about $20 for the single plane. I'm not sure how many of you out there played with this thing. I don't have a memory of having it, but it seems familiar. So I'm thinking someone that I hung out with, some kid in the neighborhood must have had one, because I just have that little, that memory in the back of your head. It's like, I've seen that before. But you don't really have much memory of it. But, hey, it looks kind of fun. And like I said, for at least a couple of days, it seemed like it could be fun. Let me know in the comments below. Did you have this? If not, and you were a kid in the 70s, oh, you don't have to be a kid in the 70s, but when you're a kid, you're like, hey, that's pretty cool. Why didn't I have that as a kid? Let me know that and more in the comments below.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.